Hello everyone. I'm so excited to see you here. Is here and mm,
Hey.
Hey, Elise.
Hi, how are you?
1 second. Maybe now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I couldn't hear you before, but I can hear you now.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Ah, I'm so excited. Finally.
Finally,
Yeah.
we're doing it. I'm in my
Yeah.
car because I just came from a therapy appointment. So, we're being flexible. We're being flexible. Trying to find my
Yeah.
AirPods actually, but we can start without them. How are you?
Yeah, pretty fine. So excited
Yeah.
and so scared before my trip to Chicago.
I'm so excited to meet everyone and to be in Chicago
Yeah.
with everyone. I'm so excited. I better not get COVID this time because I was supposed to go last year and I got COVID the day I was supposed to leave. So yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. I'm so happy. I will see so many amazing people, included you. Yeah. I'm so
It's gonna be
excited and
awesome.
yeah. And it will be a great time with everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna
Hey,
be awesome.
yeah, and how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I am actually just finishing up a mental health program that I've been doing for the past 5 months. It's an intensive, outpatient program. My last day is on Wednesday, which is pretty exciting. So that it almost kind of feels like graduation. So I'll be heading out, and then I'm moving to Hawaii in about a month.
Yay, Hawaii, Hawaii. It's an awesome, wonderful place. Yeah, my mother-in-law was last year in Hawaii, and she told us it was amazing trip. So I hope
Yeah,
I can one day go there.
you can come visit me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so happy about your story and moving to
Thank
Hawaii.
you.
So I'm
It's
happy.
definitely a good time. Yeah, it's a good time in my life right now. I'm excited for the future, which is not something, and I'm sure we'll get into this more, but not something I've been able to say for a while. So I am super excited to be excited for my future for sure.
Yeah, I see you're so happy now.
Yeah, I
Yay.
am. I'm going to Oahu. Someone just asked what island. Honolulu, the Waikiki area is where I'll be moving. So
Yeah, cool. And so happy to see you in Chicago.
yeah, it's gonna be dope.
Yeah. So thank you, Alice, for joining me today because I know this is so important topic, and we will speak today about why it takes so long from the first symptoms to starting therapy. It's absolutely too long because uh, many people are waiting or looking for help or not looking for help for many years. In my case, it was about 20 years. And it's definitely too long, because when we have a toothache, we go immediately to the doctor, to the dentist, and when we have some problems in our head with our thoughts, we're waiting for so long, and there are so many things. We are scared. There is stigma. Mental health is stigmatized, and this is a problem. And how it was in your case? Because I know most of people before from first symptoms waiting 10 years and up.
Yeah, the average is like 14 to 17, I think.
Yeah.
For me, it was 25. So I know that I had OCD at the age of 5. I have like an identifiable event that happened that I'm like, okay, that is probably right about when they really started. It could have been even earlier, but that was really the first one that I realized was OCD. And then I didn't get diagnosed until I was 30. And for me, the biggest reason was I did not tell anyone because I had mental only OCD. I'm luckily very much in recovery now, so I'm not having as many symptoms. But I had very much just, mental only. No one would know it if they couldn't hear inside my head, right? So for me, I just thought my brain was broken, and I thought it was just me, which is why my Instagram is OCD or just me, because I thought my brain was just broken. And so I didn't tell anyone about it. I didn't know it was OCD. I had absolutely no clue. And it took a really, really, really bad episode so basically I would do like mental sequences to try to prevent episodes of depersonalization and derealization, or DPDR. And my mental compulsions, for whatever reason, just like broke down when I was in Europe a couple of years ago. And so I was at a point where I was so low that I was like, I have nothing to lose. Even if this person thinks that I'm crazy, like, at least I'll just be honest about my symptoms and see what comes of it. And she looked at me and said, have you ever considered that you might have OCD? And I was like, I don't have OCD. I don't like hand washing. I don't like cleaning. I don't like things that are, like it's like that, like what you typically think of. And it was a shock for sure. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. Like, I think a lot of people have similar stories where either their compulsions are mental and so they don't share it with people and it's just their little secret, or they do share it with people and people just chalk it up to them being an anxious child and don't do anything about it. I think there's so much I think fundamentally there's such a misunderstanding about what OCD is in society. And I know that's like a huge thing that, we all talk about in the OCD community, and like why we're all probably advocates to begin with, because like we want to correct for that. But it has a real world effect, right? It's not just like, oh, this is like a thing that people say and it's kind of rude when they say like, oh, I'm so OCD or whatever. And like, that's like a rude word. It's like, no, like it's just having like a sustained real effect on people's lives, because these stereotypes are being perpetuated in such a way that people don't realize what OCD really is and can actually show up as.
And I think this is a really important point, because there are lack of knowledge about OCD in society, and also there are so many stupid movies which shows OCD like hand washing, cleaning, and that's why people think that OCD is something about being neat or organized. And there are so many people, we know this, who suffer in silence in our head. There are ruminations, there are mental compulsions. This type of OCD is not visible, and there is lack of knowledge and education here in Poland, but I think also in everywhere. And this is the first point that people are waiting for so long to starting therapy, because yeah, something wrong is with my brain. I have to think for hours about one thing and can't figure it out, and this is the problem, because for example, about depression, so many people talked about this. Depression is, I think, well known because so many also influencers or singers or actors are talking about it, but there is lack of knowledge about OCD, about borderline personality, and much other disorders.
Yeah. And I think another thing too is something that is well known and very much, you know, I think a very common experience for people is anxiety, right? So like, I'm a proponent of, I personally feel like OCD and anxiety, or GAD, really should be viewed much more similar. And I think that that would help funnel people into OCD treatment, because a lot of people are diagnosed with GAD first before being diagnosed with OCD. That was my case. I was diagnosed with GAD when I was 14. And I was just thrown into talk therapy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, here you go, you can go talk to someone about your problems, because it didn't have that OCD label. When I got the OCD label, I got an OCD therapist, I did ACT and ERP, and I recovered really quickly. But it's like so many people are so comfortable with anxiety, or are so aware of what anxiety is, and GAD is so much more well known than OCD, that I think that it can be kind of this catch-all of like, oh, you're having some intrusive thoughts and you're ruminating and you're doing this and that. Like, sounds like GAD. Okay, we'll just throw you into talk therapy. What if it was like, okay, sounds like GAD, we'll put you into ACT and ERP because they have been proven to also be effective for anxiety disorders. I just feel like if there can be more of a conversation around like the way that GAD is treated and the way that people see GAD versus OCD, it could really help lessen that timeline and shorten that timeline down. Because I think a lot of people with generalized anxiety disorder probably could qualify as having OCD too, and vice versa. And know that OCD treatment works, but a lot of the times, at least in my experience with GAD, just going to talk therapy, it certainly didn't work for my GAD, and then it also didn't work for my OCD, you know, which I didn't know I had.
Yep.
So I think that's also another big problem, is just GAD is so much more well known by like even doctors, right? Like doctors don't know what OCD is, and which is terrifying. And people just get thrown into talk therapy, and they're living with, you know, if you want to call it OCD, call it OCD. If you want to call it GAD, call it GAD. I don't really care. But like, if you're having these thoughts that you're then acting on the need to get relief from the distress of the thoughts in some capacity, that is going to benefit from exposure therapy and from things like ACT and ERP, or ICBT if that's your jam. And so I just wish that that was more of a conversation too. You know, I see posts all the time, like GAD versus OCD and like what the difference is and all that stuff. And like, it's not just anxiety. And I'm like, they're kind of the same thing in a weird way though. Like, I know they're different, but like, let's talk about that more, so that like, if people have GAD, okay, immediate trigger that they get tested for OCD too, you know, or vice versa. If they have OCD, immediate trigger that they get tested for GAD, just to see and to know, to have all your treatment options on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know also this is the point, because so many doctors, so many specialists are not specialists in OCD treatment. And as you said, they know probably nothing about OCD. And it would be great if they know, okay, this can be OCD, go to that therapist because I don't know anything about it. But so many therapists are wrong and trying to start talk therapy with someone with OCD, and this is the problem, because there are not so many educated therapists, especially I know here in Poland, but I think also in the USA, or in the USA I think it's much better situation because of IOCDF, because of English language. But here in Poland, there are so many people who don't speak English and can't just looking for specialists all around the world. But nowadays, I think it's much easier to translate all those sites, IOCDF or something like that, because we have amazing ChatGPT.
Yeah. No, it's so true. Like, just the lack of specializing in OCD therapy specifically is such a problem, right? And it's so hard to, like, in my experience, it was very difficult to find an OCD therapist. When I did find one, she didn't take insurance. So I had to pay out of pocket, which luckily I could swing, but a lot of people wouldn't necessarily be able to swing that. So it's access, right? Like, even if you get the diagnosis, like, that doesn't even then guarantee that you're going to get the right care. And that's why, things like No CD are so great, because it expands that care potential and the ability for people to get it, right? Like, otherwise it's like finding a needle in a haystack, like trying to find like a qualified therapist. And like, I think that has to do a lot with, just the fact that the medical model is different than the way that therapy works, where with the medical model, you have to, ERP can be used to treat GAD too, by the way, for the comment that I just saw. It's very much like a treatment that also is specialized to GAD as well, and panic disorder. So you don't have to specialize necessarily in anything, right? So, and like, why would you want to? I'm writing a book about this. I'm writing a book called OCD Exposed 10 Myths and Misconceptions about obsessive-compulsive disorder. And one of the myths I was just talking about was talk therapy is the best way to treat OCD, right? And it's like, so not, but it's so difficult because as, therapists, like, I'm about to go back to school to become a therapist, and I know I'm going to have to go out of my way if I want to specialize. Like, if I want to specialize in a specific thing, I'm going to have to make sure all my internships line up so that I'm doing just that. All of my continuing education credits are going towards that. Like, I'm focusing on that for any extracurriculars or any extra classes or whatever. And it's just not something that, it's not part of the structure of the way that, like, therapy operates. So people try to generalize or be generalists, and that's great because they can help so many different people, right? Like, that's for a huge swath of the population. That's fantastic to be able to, offer so many different services. But then when it comes to things like this, where you need specific treatment, it doesn't really translate, right? Because to have really specific treatment, you have to study that specific domain very specifically. So it just causes a huge shortage of therapists that are specialized in these things. And even if you do get a diagnosis, actually getting therapy is like a whole nother thing,
Yeah, and it's also a problem because the therapy is so expensive, and when if you want to go for it for free, then you have to wait, for example, 6 months, one year, and even if you start finally therapy, therapists can be specialized only, for example, in CBT, and know almost nothing about ACT, about mindfulness, and these methods, these tools are also so helpful. So I I think that therapists should be more open for other models, for other tools, and also if we speak about medication, because I have one friend who started therapy, and her therapist told him that meds, SSRIs, if you start SSRIs, you have to take this until death or something like that. And psychiatrists can tell him, no, for OCD works only medication and therapy is for nothing. And this is also a big problem, because there are not many. I know one therapist in Poland who is also a psychiatrist and know exactly what OCD is, how she should combine it with medication, with other methods, and this is really helpful.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think it's unfortunate, right? Because it's not like, I'm not trying to call out like therapists right now. Like, it's not their fault that this is the way it is. And they just want to help people, that's like their job. But I think it's a disservice to people that have OCD to say that you will treat someone with OCD if you are not specialized in one of these treatments, because we've talked about this before, like, I'm sure, but, with talk therapy, you could end up doing, or even doing something like cognitive restructuring, you could end up doing more harm than good by challenging your thoughts more, by engaging more with the content of your thoughts, instead of with what we're taught within, or at least what I was taught within the European Act, unhook from your thoughts, follow your values, act based on what you want to be doing, not based off of how you're feeling or thinking. And I had years of therapy, years and years of therapy, and it never helped, because it was just me talking in circles about, things that were not needing to be talked about, because it was just thoughts that came into my brain that were not, important, but I was assigning so much importance to them. And then as I was talking about it in therapy, it was becoming even more of a thing, So it's not just that it's harm. It's not just that it's like there's no access. It's actually like then potentially people are going into therapy that could be harmful, which is even worse.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And Elysee, I think also the most important thing why it takes so long to starting therapy is all things about stigma, about stigmatizing, about being ashamed, and about taboo thoughts, because there is a lack of awareness about taboo thoughts. And I'm so happy I made live about taboo thoughts with Tracy, with Krista, because it's so important, because so many people are ashamed of the thoughts. It's much easier to start to start therapy if you have thoughts about checking doors or something like that. It's definitely much easier. It's also a problem with being ashamed about this, because this is not something normal for us, that we checking for 100 times the same thing. But it's much easier go to therapy with those thoughts than with thoughts I can kill someone, I could be a pedophile or something like that. And this is also something we should talk about out loud, that these thoughts are ego-dystonic, and they are against our values, because this is so important.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. For me, like, I thought my thoughts were taboo. I wouldn't say they were taboo in a traditional sense of like, I think I'm a pedophile, or I want to kill, a friend, or like things like that. It was more just like, I feel like I'm going to lose my personality. And I just thought that was, if someone heard me say that, they would think I was nuts. Like, that's where the stigma was, right? And I think I can relate a lot to people that have taboo thoughts because, yeah, they're afraid that they're going to say something and they're going to get committed because people are going to assume that their ego, syntonic and that they're aligned with their values when in fact they are not. And that is such a valid fear, like, let's just call that out. Like, that is such a valid fear. And also, like, from what I've heard from people in the community and stuff, and like through doing my book and collecting quotes from other OCD survivors, people definitely go through it with taboo thoughts because they get treated like they're monsters. And it's really sad.
Yeah, it's so scary to start in therapy because we have thought, oh my God, and they can call a police or something like that, and I go to the jail, and this is so overwhelming for people, and they're feeling alone because they feel they can't talk about this anyone.
Yeah, it's a very lonely place to be. And I know, again, like, we as advocates are trying to change that as much as we can, but it takes a shift in, like, culture almost, for people to recognize something like that. And you just hope, obviously, that the people that they're sharing their taboo thoughts with, that it's a safe space and that they're gonna appreciate that that's not a reflection of who they are. It's just their brain trying to sabotage them because it's something they really care about. And that's what OCD goes after. We know OCD goes after the things we care about most and makes us think we're terrible people when we're not. So yeah, you just hope that they happen to find that snowflake that will say, like my doctor did, when I told her what was happening with me, like, have you ever thought you have OCD? And then help me find treatment instead of, wow, you're crazy. Let me commit you to a hospital because I think you're a danger. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's really, that's something that I think is going to take probably a long time to change. But I think, like, as a community, we're making such good progress on it by just showing up and just talking about it, and making sure that people understand, like, it is okay if your brain says things that you don't agree with, like, you are not a reflection of the random neurons firing in your brain that are, like, producing these thoughts. Like, and the fact, I put out a reel about this too, but, like, the fact that you're freaked out by your intrusive thoughts or your taboo thoughts is actually a good thing, right? In a way, the fact that you're freaked out by them and you're like, I can't believe I just had this thought, because if you agreed with the thought, you wouldn't be freaked out by it. So I like to, like, have that perspective shift too of, like, okay, yeah, you're having wild thoughts and you're really freaked out by them. Like, the reason you're freaked out by them is because you don't agree with them.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
You don't think they're valid.
Yeah, I think the psychopath will not have such a thought, oh my gosh, I want to kill someone. I'm so scary about that. No,
they're like, yep, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. Exactly. And the first thing my wife asked me about I was diagnosed in 2023. She asked me, are we safe? Is my family safe or not? And that's why we should speak about this, because people don't see a difference between ego-dystonic thoughts and ego-syntonic thoughts, and this is a big problem because they think we can be dangerous.
Yeah, it's really sad and it's really scary. Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it's really sad and it's really scary. I do think there is more, awareness coming, like, with different. I was researching for my book a lot of different programs and shows, and a lot of them are really bad for OCD and depict OCD really badly, or the person in the character is clearly more clearly has OCPD than OCD, right? But it's like conflated. One show that I did find that I thought was a great example of OCD representation was a couple ones. One was Pure, which is about I haven't actually seen it, but I think it's a UK show. And it's about a woman that
Mm-hmm.
has pure O, so she's mental only. And it plays out her sexual intrusive thoughts in real time. So it will actually like show her like trying to kiss her mom or like thinking about her
Mm-hmm.
best friend not having a shirt on anymore or whatever. And like, I'm totally going to watch the show now because to me, that's like, we need something like that. You know, we need a big show like that or a movie or something that just depicts OCD in this new, fresh way that people haven't seen before and really tells the story of like, this is the struggle. You are literally bombarded every single day with these thoughts that you don't want to be having. And you're so afraid to tell people because you think people will think you're crazy. And so you
Mm-hmm.
feel so alone. You don't get help. Like, that's such a story that like needs to be told. And obviously there's like, you know, like the exposure movie and stuff like that. And there's people out there in the OCD community that are working towards that. But I do think like Hollywood needs to get their shit together on that one. It would be a
Yeah.
really good, compelling story to tell, you know? And I think it's something that like the world really needs to understand better.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely agree. And this thing that OCD is all about facing our fears. ERP is about this. We should face our anxiety, and also when we are not aware about this before we were diagnosed, there is also fear to starting therapy, to tell someone about this, and this fear stop us for doing before taking this first step.
Right. Yeah. No,
And
I mean,
yeah,
it's scary. I was just gonna say it's a scary step to take. Like OCD therapy is really hard.
mm, yeah, it's uh, yeah, there are many better things to do in our life than
Much more fun
ERP.
things to do with your
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But when we are diagnosed with OCD, facing our fears is something necessary, I think. I'm sure. I'm sure. So
Yeah.
uh, now I now we can speak about better things that why does it take so long. So now we can speak about how can we change this? How can we make our lives better? How can we help others? And the first thing I have in my head is talking about mental health out loud. This is, I think, the first point, because when we are silent and everyone around us were silent, there will be no change.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I think it's interesting. Mental health has become such a pivotal part of my life. It's almost like I feel like I'm talking about it all the time, but I know that that's rare and that's not something that like most people do, right? So if you're around me, you likely will be talking about mental health, whether you like it or not. But I think, you know, it needs to be, in my opinion, something that's just much more widely discussed in day-to-day conversation. I think it needs to be something that's more like appreciated as, oh, hey, bud. Did you think I wouldn't say hi to you? Hi. What's your name?
Hi,
Hein?
Mac.
Yeah,
Oh, nice to meet you. I'm Elise.
Simon, as
Simon.
in Lion King. Timon.
Oh, I see. I see. So, Simone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simone?
he's
Nice.
he's
Nice to
going.
meet you, bud.
Yeah, he's going into bed because here in
Oh.
Poland it's almost 9 p.m.
Oh, yeah, I won't keep you. Yeah, it's just definitely like it needs to be more of a discussion topic that people are comfortable with. I think like there's certain topics that people think are just off the table. And I think that's changing. I think mental health is becoming a much
Mm,
bigger conversation today than it used to be. But I just think more people need to be comfortable with talking about it in an open way. Um, and that comes from honestly just doing it and having the people around you that are going to support you once you start to speak up, right?
yeah, and
Because you
people
have
who
to be the
understand
change.
and having people
Yeah,
who understand what helps and what doesn't help us.
right. Yeah,
Because reassurance
absolutely.
or doing compulsions with us is something really bad.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that is a huge piece too that is difficult is like people don't know how to support those with OCD. And they try their best to be supportive, but maybe are unintentionally actually, causing harm by
Mm,
being that reassurance provider or by helping someone ruminate on, a problem or whatever. And that's really hard too, because you just want to be there for someone. But when it comes to OCD, it's like there's a lot of traps that are really easy to fall into.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And starting when we start to talk about this and normalize it and educate people, it's much easier people to understand and much easier to not engage with our compulsions. And also, it's so important to build such a community who understand, who support us, and this is also really helpful because speaking about our disorder with someone who really understands, it's something special.
Yeah. That's why I'm so excited for the OCD conference.
Yay!
I'm so excited you're going.
Two weeks, and I fly directly to
Oh,
Chicago.
I was so worried you weren't going to be able to come.
Yeah,
I'm so happy that you're gonna make it. It's gonna be a great year. I've never been to Chicago before either, actually.
I've
So
never
I'm
been.
excited to
I've
see
never been.
Chicago.
Yeah, I've never been in the USA, so this will be my first
That's
time.
crazy. Oh
Yeah,
my God. I'm so excited for you. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be such a good time. And we're gonna learn
yeah.
so much.
So, Elise, I think there are so many things we can also do to spread awareness. We can educate people, educate therapists. We can make Instagram or social media actions, podcasts, and there are so many other ideas and we can do this absolutely for free without engaging our money for this, and this is awesome. And that's why I started here in Poland this campaign, despite the fear, because we want to show people that we can do scary things, and this is
And you went
amazing.
skydiving, huh?
Yeah, I was skydiving last
That's
week, and
amazing.
that was something crazy.
Oh my God. I've been skydiving twice. So I know what it's like. And yeah, that's definitely facing your fear. Because if
Yeah,
you're trying to tell me that you're not scared of jumping out of a plane, then you're lying to yourself because that is scary.
but for me, it was much easier to jump off this plane than to stop ruminating. Sometimes it's much easier.
Oh yeah. I mean, someone's
If
attached to
that,
you too, so they just do it for you.
yeah, yeah. If someone told me, if someone tell me, what do you choose? 10 times jumping off the plane or trying to stop rumination for one. I can jump off the plane so many times, but I want to not have this urge to figure something out in my head.
Yeah. No, it's crazy how much our brains make work for us in such like a way. It's crazy what they imagine up. It is, I think OCD ultimately is a reflection of the incredible imagination of the brain and the capability of the brain, right? Obviously it's in a toxic, disordered, unhealthy state, but the fact that we're able to come up with these wild thoughts and then these wild compulsions, and we have to wrap ourselves into a pretzel to try to get to a place of relief. I think it really is a testament to the power of like the brain and just what it can do, and that goes the other direction. Your brain also has the power to heal itself and to build new neural pathways that bypass those old patterns. But it takes work. It takes getting diagnosed. It takes getting the right treatment. And that's not an easy thing. So it's something that we're going to have to keep working on.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, if you have any question for us, just ask. We are here to answer. Yeah. And Elysee, it was so amazing conversation with you. And
Yes, thank you so much.
So happy I can hug you in Chicago.
I know. I'm so excited. It's going to be awesome. I feel like this was a good conversation to like kick off. I'm about to go home back to New Hampshire. I'm in Florida right now. And then it's going to be like a week until we're there. And I feel like you're getting me real excited. So I'm pumped.
Yeah. So if there are no questions, I will put this live on my YouTube channel, and I share it on Instagram also, so people can see it
Awesome.
later. Yeah.
Thank you so much. This was great.
Yeah. See you in Chicago.
Sounds good. I'll talk to you later. Bye, everyone. Bye.